Welcome to the channel, my friends. Today we're going to talk about something old-fashioned, because this figure is already reaching the rarity level for JOYTOY. While the world is currently full of reviews of the new World Eaters, I present to you the Exalted champion of the Red Corsairs, named Gotor the Blade. A very original nickname. This guy is unique in every way, and we are going to talk in this video just about what makes him stand out from all the new and old lines of JOYTOY, so it's going to be interesting. The set is simple: a backpack, 3 interchangeable hands, 3 weapons and no stand. It is noteworthy that the backpack has non-standard attachment pins. They differ from all modern JOYTOY backpacks. They are just 3 times thicker, so the backpacks and bags of old Chaos Marines are incompatible with any other. Since this is a Chaosite from the 40th millennium, his armor has already experienced, if not mutations, then at least modifications and repairs. So we can see shins and feet in fairly good condition, they are quite clean. The black ornaments on them are different. The contrasting white spike on the outer side of the left shin stands out very much, it even looks unnatural. This is probably a manifestation of the influence of the warp. The right knee pad is entirely represented by an evil skull. From above, below the knees, there is a bandage with a chain and a star at the end. Standard legs at the back, but it is noteworthy that the armor on the thighs has typical colors of the Black Legion. A pouch is tied to the left leg with a belt. It can even be removed because it's held on by a peg, which is very cool because today they don't do this anymore. The bandage is attached to the belt, along with 2 frag grenades. All of these, by the way, including the cloth, can be removed. And on the cloth itself there is a loop for attaching the knife. On the stomach there are 3 visible power cables, on the chest again a skull, 2 cables crossed, a connector and 1 more connector with the connected hose. The arms have palms and forearms also from the Black Legion, and just a huge shoulder pads, where on the right spikes are built in, clearly an improvement of Chaos, while the frame of the shoulder pad below is missing, which is quite interesting because usually we don't see this. On the left there is the coat of arms of the Red Corsairs. This is a glove with sharp claws half clenched into a fist, with an arrow inside, something inspired by the coats of arms of Imperial Fists and Iron Hands. The shoulder pad itself is completely wrapped in an outer frame. The shoulder pads are interesting not only because they are not symmetrical, but also because they are gigantic, covering the arm up to elbow, while from the sides you can see that they are really thick. Just look how much bigger they are than the shoulders of the recent Chaosite colleague. The backpack looks very fresh against the background of typical starters backpacks and especially Primaris. Its lower part is quite standard. It looks like this on Marks 4, 5, 6 and probably even Mark 7. But above, starting from the tubes on the sides and the sculpt of the demonic horned skull, everything looks just gorgeous. The demon's mouth is used as an air duct. The horns come out above the backpack. And the stabilizing engines for some reason were strongly brought out to the sides of the backpack, which required a whole additional structure, on which even white spikes appeared. Actually, it is not a casual modification. This is an Anvil's pattern backpack, which was developed for space battles and abandoned by the Imperium, being used by Chaos Marines. The engines here turned into skulls, which looks even more brutal. However, the sculpting of the skulls seems strange to me, although it is good, but the teeth are made unnaturally. Perhaps these are demonic skulls, cause human jaws should look different. The helmet is heavily modified, or better to say warp-influenced Aquilian helmet. The box grid and tubes are the only things that didn't change much. His lenses became blue. The helmet has gold ornamentation to match the armor. And of course a large flat horn, that adds charm, making an excellent image of the Chaos Space Marine. The kit includes 3 interchangeable hands. This is a single fist and reverse installed hands for the bolter and melee weapons. The equipment is represented by a mutated power axe. Now he can spy on his enemies. Everything looks very cool from the handle to the blade. The Chaos Bolter instead of a clip just hangs a bolter belt. Otherwise it is a fairly standard weapon with decoration. And the last weapon is a knife with an extended blade, quite spectacular. The articulation of the figure is not quite typical. This is one of the first generation JOYTOY figure representatives. And its joints, although they give the same ability as almost every one of today's Space Marines, but the joints of the feet were very loose and shaky right out of the box. His knees, hips, waist, chest, hands, elbows and neck are quite typical. I only want to note that the shoulder joints on the contrary move very tightly and even lock themselves from time to time. The key difference of the first generation figures is the ball joints in the shoulder pads. So they are also articulated, but the backpack instead is absolutely static. The skulls do not rotate in any way. I have quite a few comments on the posing, so we'll get to them right after introductory words about the Legionary. The Red Corsairs are a warband, the basis of which is once a loyal order of the Astral Claws, of the 10th Foundation, which was corrupted taking with it a couple more orders of the Space Marines. I didn't find information on the internet about whose genetic heirs they are, but by associations it seems to me personally that they came from the Imperial Fists. The champion wears warp modified Mark 7 Aquila armor, with a special on Violus pattern backpack. So this is a chaotic but the rarest representative of this armor pattern among JOYTOY figures. There are no more than 10 figures in it, maybe even 5. Gotor has a couple of problems with stability. The figure is very unstable. He has a high center of gravity and not the most powerful and stable legs to take even simple standing poses. So you will have to work with him, especially considering that there is no stand included. It's a pity that he is so unstable, because by combining different weapons you can give him a lot of cool poses. With an axe, shooting from a bolter, with a knife, with a grenade in his hand. In general, a full set of aggressive combat movements. Crouching is also available, and it must be admitted that in dynamics he looks great, but if you touch him slightly, he'll fall. This champion is the only representative of this warband in the JOYTOY model range. There are no other red Corsairs, although newbies like me often classify him as a Crimson Slaughter, because of their release pictures. But even their colors are different. Moreover, the figure is also a recolor of the Black Legionary. From the molds they replaced only the helmet, which is unique for this figure, and a bolter with a plasma pistol. Otherwise, these figures are absolutely identical, so much that their forearms, hands and fists do not differ in principle, even in color. And it's not entirely clear here whether this is a stylistic decision to show the character's closeness to the Black Legion, or whether JOYTOY simply forgot about painting these parts, especially hands and forearms. What about the differences from other figures? I think the difference in height between the Sister of Battle and Gotor is very clear. It is about 1 head. That's what the first generation of figures means. The red color seems the same. The second generation Primaris is noticeably taller, which is logical, and noticeably thinner in the shoulders. And you know what's funny in this case? This is exactly how the difference between the guys would look now, if instead of the Corsairs there was a new World Eater, and instead of the Ultramarine there was Titus. Comparing the red with the Blood Angel. Seems to be a little different color. The old Indomitus Terminator. These guys have one well-respected scale. And this is the new Cataphractite Terminator. About the same next to Gotor would look, for example, the new chosen Black Legionaries or Titus. To sum it up, I would like to know that this is a figure that has 2 personalities. It is unique. It is the only representative of the whole Space Marine faction, but at the same time it's really an ordinary color of the Black Legionary, and in my opinion the red version still looks more interesting. That is why we speak about it. As for its relevance, today it's completely irrelevant for the current model range. It was on its example that I told about the changes in the JOYTOY scale. So if you're interested in this topic, the link to the video should appear in the tip above. Of course, I didn't check what parts are here, but in theory, to pull this guy up to the new scale, you just need to replace his leg entirely, including the joints for touching to the body. I'm not sure if it's possible, but the legs from the Heresy Blood Angels, or from the new Black Legionaries and World Eaters from 40k will fix the height situation. In any case, this guy can still be combined with the figures up to the 3rd generation, and there are still most of them today. By the way, now on the screen he stands with the Grey Knight, and I just thought that the Grey Knights are probably the only guys from the old generation who were not affected by the changes in the scale. They were always old school marines, never having a Primaris. An interesting topic for future videos. What's left to say about the champion of the Red Corsairs? Today the figure has become quite rare, which despite its scale makes the guy really interesting and a good addition to the collection, especially considering the variability of the display thanks to the weapon setup. It's just a pity that there are problems with stability. On this I say goodbye. Thanks for watching and have a nice day to all the Chaos fans.